What do you do when the person you trusted most becomes the one who wounds you the deepest? Not with a weapon, but with silence, with dishonesty, with absence in the moments you needed them the most. You sit there, stunned, not just at their betrayal, but at your own disbelief. You replay conversations, try to pinpoint where it all cracked. You whisper to yourself, "How could they?" But the louder question echoing inside is often, "How could I not have seen it?" If you've ever felt this, you're not weak. You're human. And heartbreak, in its cruel clarity, doesn't just destroy what was between you. It shakes what's within you. It makes you question everything, including yourself. Trust, once broken, doesn't just leave a scar. It fractures your sense of safety, of order, of reality. And yet, what if I told you that within that fracture lies a profound opportunity? Not for revenge, not even for reconciliation, but for rebirth? Because this video is not about fixing them. It's not about repairing what you can't control. It's about rebuilding something far more sacred, your inner foundation, your sense of peace, your ability to trust again, starting with yourself. Today, we're not chasing closure from the world. We're studying how the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, faced betrayal, loss, and personal devastation, not by collapsing, but by deepening, by choosing virtue over vengeance, by strengthening what no one could take from them, their own minds, their clarity, their character. This isn't a motivational speech. This is a journey inward. If you've been broken by someone's actions, if you're walking through the ashes of what once felt solid, this is for you. We'll explore the pillars of Stoic wisdom that can help you not only understand the pain, but transform through it. And if something in this speaks to you, I invite you to like this video, subscribe to Stoic now, and join a community that seeks not just to survive, but to rise with wisdom. So take a breath. Let go of what you think you need to feel, or prove, or fix. The journey begins here, with quiet honesty and the steady fire of rebuilding. Let's begin. Step 1. Radical honesty with yourself first. Before a single word is spoken to the one who hurt you, before any boundary is drawn or reconciliation is even considered, you must do something far more difficult. You must sit in silence with yourself and ask, not about them, but about you. Where did it break? What was lost? What story have I been telling myself since? See, pain tends to write its own narrative. It whispers to you in moments of quiet, convincing you of your victimhood, your helplessness, your unworthiness. But the Stoics teach us that pain is only a sensation. It becomes suffering when we assign it meaning without clarity. Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And the first reaction that shapes everything isn't rage. It's the inner story we write. The silent, spiraling belief about what this betrayal says about us. So, before you text them, confront them, or try to fix anything, pause. Turn inward. Radical honesty begins here. Am I seeing facts? Or am I only seeing the fog of my expectations? This doesn't mean the betrayal didn't happen. It means you're willing to see the whole field. It means you're ready to examine not just their actions, but your role, your interpretations, your blind spots, your emotional investments. Ask yourself, was there a red flag I softened into a pink one? Did I ignore a silence that should have been questioned? Did I attach meaning to gestures that were never promises? This is not about blaming yourself. It's about reclaiming your perception. Because once you own how you see, you begin to control how you heal. Write it down. Journal it. What happened? What did I feel? What am I still telling myself today? That's the start of Stoic healing. Because clarity doesn't come from venting. It comes from writing the truth without flinching. And it's here, in that quiet room with no one else watching, that you will begin to see just how deeply betrayal doesn't just crack relationships. It distorts the self. You begin to question your worth, your instincts, your capacity to love or trust again. But let me tell you something that Stoicism reminds us. You are not defined by what someone else did to you. You are revealed by how you respond. Radical honesty with yourself is the process of peeling away the layers of emotional confusion that have built up like fogged glass. It's asking, what am I protecting by staying hurt? Because sometimes holding onto the pain gives us a false sense of control. It keeps us from the vulnerability of moving forward. But there is no control in resentment. There is no clarity in blame. There is only imprisonment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake. I will gladly change. It is the truth I'm after, not ego. That is radical honesty. That is inner freedom. You are not rebuilding the relationship yet. You are rebuilding your perception of the relationship and of yourself within it. That's a far more powerful foundation. Think about the moment you first felt the sting of mistrust. Maybe it was a friend who shared something you asked them to keep sacred. Maybe it was a partner whose loyalty wavered behind your back. Or maybe it was subtler, a long, slow drift into dishonesty, where you woke up one day realizing you no longer recognized the person you once loved. But here's the deeper question. What did it wake up in you? Did it awaken a hunger to cling tighter? Or a fear that you were unlovable? Did it resurrect past wounds that had nothing to do with this moment, but were now coloring every reaction? That's why Stoicism doesn't begin with action, it begins with observation. Noticing the inner earthquake before rushing to fix the cracks on the outside. And it requires courage. The kind of courage to sit with your pain without immediately labeling it, escaping it, or weaponizing it. Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And that suffering amplifies when we avoid truth. You can't rebuild trust with another person until you've rebuilt your trust in your own clarity. Because otherwise, you will always question your own judgment. You will outsource your peace. You'll say, "I'll feel better when they explain, when they apologize, when they make it right." But the Stoic asks, what if they never do? Will you live the rest of your life in emotional debt to their repentance? Or will you begin your liberation today by choosing clarity over and over again? Here's something you can practice tonight. Before bed, take a blank piece of paper and write down 3 questions. 1. What emotion did I feel strongest today about this person or situation? 2. Is that emotion based on facts or my interpretation? 3. What would I do differently tomorrow if I saw clearly? That is the Stoic way, not to run from pain, but to question it, observe it, and let it refine you. Because pain is not the enemy. Confusion is. And radical honesty is your sword to cut through it. In time, this clarity becomes your peace. Not because the other person changed, but because you did. So now, with clearer eyes and a steadier heart, we step forward, not toward them yet, but deeper into ourselves. And from that place of inner truth, we begin the next chapter, learning how trust can be rebuilt, not through promises or apologies, but through disciplined virtue. Step 2. Rebuild through virtue, not emotion. If betrayal is the demolition of trust, then virtue is the scaffolding for its rebuilding. But unlike the cinematic images we often carry, tearful apologies, grand gestures, instant forgiveness, real healing is quieter, slower. It doesn't bloom in the heat of emotion, but in the discipline of character. The Stoics never promised that life would shield us from pain. What they offered was a way to walk through it with dignity. So, when trust shatters, they do not tell us to forgive blindly or rage with righteousness. They say, return to virtue, not because they deserve it, but because you do. You see, emotion is reaction, but virtue? Virtue is response. Deliberate, thoughtful, anchored. Trust is not a feeling that rushes back with time. It is a structure rebuilt brick by brick, with patience, courage, integrity, humility. These are not just ancient ideals. They are daily disciplines. They are choices made when no one is clapping, when no one is watching, and when the outcome is still uncertain. Let's begin with patience. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How much more harmful are the consequences of anger and grief than the circumstances that arouse them in us?" Patience is not passivity, it is power restrained. It means allowing the other person to earn their way back into alignment without force, without bitterness, and without constant testing. Courage follows closely, because it takes courage to stay present while rebuilding, not to rush through discomfort, not to numb, not to avoid, but to endure. Courage is sitting in the same room as the one who hurt you and choosing to listen, not accuse. To be honest without being harsh. To set clear standards without expecting immediate understanding. Then comes integrity, perhaps the most essential and the most difficult. Integrity asks, are you becoming the person you would trust? Are your actions aligned with your words, even when emotions tempt you to violate that line? Too often, we confuse being emotionally raw with being emotionally honest. But rawness alone is not truth. Stoic honesty is tempered with reason. It speaks not to wound, but to reveal. So, if you are the one who was betrayed, ask, can I remain consistent in my boundaries and values without punishing the other? And if you are the one who betrayed, ask, can I prove change through repetition, not performance? This isn't about rehearsed apologies. It's about embodied correction. Think of someone in your life who did earn your trust back, not through dramatic declarations, but through quiet reliability. They showed up when they said they would. They stopped making excuses. They didn't push you to move faster than you were ready. They respected your pace. That is virtue in motion, and it does more to rebuild trust than any emotional plea. Now here's the paradox. Rebuilding through virtue often feels emotionally unsatisfying in the short term. Why? Because our wounds crave urgency. Our pain wants to be soothed now. But virtue demands process. It asks you to build peace with each consistent step, even when the full structure isn't yet visible. And this is where Stoic discipline truly shines. It gives you something to stand on when emotion fails you. Marcus Aurelius urges us, don't go on discussing what a good person should be. Just be one. That's your anchor. If they never change, if reconciliation never comes, you will have still become stronger, wiser, more grounded. So how does this look practically? It means showing up in conversations with the intent to understand, not control. It means keeping your commitments, even if your emotions fluctuate. It means not punishing others for the pain they caused, but also not excusing it. It means living your values with quiet steadiness. And just as importantly, it means rebuilding trust with yourself. Trust that you can uphold your standards. Trust that you can be kind without becoming a doormat. Trust that you can walk away, if needed, without bitterness, because you gave what was yours to give. Virtue. Seneca taught, no man was ever wise by chance. Wisdom is earned. It is practiced. And in the crucible of broken trust, it is often born. So if today you're tempted to scream, to demand, to beg for closure or clarity, pause. Ask yourself, what would virtue do here? Not for them, but for your own peace? Maybe the answer is silence. Maybe it's a single firm boundary. Maybe it's extending grace one last time, or deciding, with dignity, that the rebuilding must end. Whatever it is, let it come not from fear, not from rage, but from your highest principle. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be whole. And wholeness is a quiet strength. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need to be right. It only needs to be true. So today, commit to rebuilding not with emotions' volatility, but with virtue's calm discipline. And as you do, you'll find something unexpected. The pain may still visit you, but it won't own you. Because you will be building something no betrayal can ever take. A self fortified by principle, and a trust that begins within. Now that the foundation is set in virtue, it's time we move forward, not with confrontation, but with communication. Let's talk about how to speak after the silence. The art of dialogue, without demand. Step 3. Dialogue without demand. The moment always comes. After the silence. After the tears have dried on the inside. After virtue has begun its quiet work. The question rises, should I speak? And if so, how? This moment, when you choose to open your mouth again to the one who broke your trust, is sacred. Not because they deserve your voice, but because your voice, now forged in reflection, carries the weight of truth. And truth, spoken with stillness, has the power to clarify, to soften, and to liberate. But there is a trap. It's subtle, and if you don't see it, you'll fall back into the same pattern that wounded you. That trap is demand. Demand disguised as dialogue. Phrases like, you need to understand what you did, or why didn't you? Or, I just want you to feel what I felt. These are not bridges. They're verbal weapons. They don't invite truth, they pressure performance. And real healing never blooms under pressure. Stoicism teaches us that speech should be grounded in logos, in reason, in clarity, in intention. It's not just what we say, but the spirit we say it in. Epictetus put it simply, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. So how do we speak after betrayal? Slowly, intentionally, without an agenda, but with deep inner steadiness. Start with this, you're not speaking to win. You're speaking to be real. The first rule of Stoic communication is to check your own temperature. If you're still burning inside, if you're waiting to strike, wait longer. Dialogue is not catharsis. It's clarity. A practical way to begin is with this line. I'm not here to argue, blame, or fix everything today. I'm here because I want to understand what we're both standing on, honestly. This shifts the entire dynamic. It's not about proof. It's about presence. And presence changes everything. Think of a time someone confronted you, not with anger, but with composed clarity. Maybe it was a friend who said, "What you said the other day, it didn't sit right with me. Can we talk about it?" Their tone wasn't accusatory. It was grounded, unflinching, but not hostile. That's what Stoic speech feels like. Now, there will be moments in this conversation where emotions rise. They always do. You may hear things that sting. You may realize that your story wasn't the full story. Or you may see them deflect, dodge, or deny what they did. This is where your inner work protects you. Because you didn't come to extract something from them. You came to speak your truth and let it stand. You may say, "I don't need you to explain everything right now. I just want us to stop pretending nothing broke." Or, "I've rebuilt parts of myself, but I can't finish alone. I need to know what you're willing to hold and what you're not." These are not demands. They are declarations. There's a difference. Demands come from fear. "Fix this, or I'll fall apart." Declarations come from strength. "This is where I am, and this is what I need to move forward." Remember, the Stoics did not believe in suppressing truth. They believed in elevating it beyond chaos. So if the other person lashes out or evades responsibility, don't mirror them. Anchor yourself. Respond with fewer words, not more. You might simply say, "That's not what I experienced, but I hear what you're saying." Or, "I'm not going to argue. I only wanted to share this because I value truth more than comfort." You are not trying to win the conversation. You are testing the ground for what can grow and what can't. And what if they do respond with humility? What if they meet you in that vulnerable space with their own truth? Then comes the second layer of this step, listening without anticipation, without scripting their apology, without shaping their words into the ones you wish they'd say. Because true dialogue is not theater. It's not meant to satisfy your imagination. It's meant to reflect reality. And sometimes, that reality is bittersweet. You may hear remorse that doesn't come with change. You may hear truths that shift your understanding, but not your decision. And that's okay, because the purpose of dialogue is not to guarantee reconciliation. It is to see clearly what is possible and what is not. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "If anyone can refute me, show me I'm making a mistake or looking at things from the wrong perspective, I'll gladly change." It's the truth I'm after. That's what you want. Not loyalty at any cost. Not forgiveness as a transaction. But truth. Rooted, real, and sobering. And once you've spoken and listened, step back. Don't rush to interpret everything. Don't replay every word. Let it settle. Because often, clarity doesn't arrive in the conversation itself. It arrives in the stillness after. The Stoics called this euthymia, a state of inner calm where your soul is in harmony with your reason. That is what dialogue without demand creates. Not closure tied to outcome, but peace tied to effort. You spoke honestly. You listened fully. You let go of control. That is power. So now, as the echoes of that dialogue fade, you must ask one final question. Given what I've seen, what do I choose? To rebuild or to release? That, dear friend, is the final test. And it is not a moment of weakness, but the beginning of your deepest strength. Step 4. Final test. When to rebuild or release. There comes a moment in every healing journey when silence has been broken, truth has been spoken, and virtue has been lived. And still, you find yourself standing at a crossroads. One path leads toward rebuilding the relationship. The other leads toward releasing it. And both are lined with uncertainty. This moment is not a test of loyalty. It is a test of clarity. It asks, are you holding on out of hope or out of habit? Are you rebuilding out of strength or refusing to release out of fear? Stoicism does not demand that we stay. It demands that we stay awake. Marcus Aurelius said, "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs?" That's not blind surrender. That's radical acceptance of what is, not what you wish it to be. So how do you know? When is rebuilding wise? And when is releasing merciful? The answer isn't found in emotion. It's found in observation. Ask yourself this. Have their actions aligned with their words since the rupture? Have they respected your boundaries, shown up with humility, changed through behavior, not just apology? If not, you're not being asked to rebuild. You're being asked to release with grace. Because the Stoics knew that to continue placing trust where none is respected is not noble. It's self-betrayal. Seneca said, "He who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." And suffering through repeated disappointment is not virtue. It is misdirected endurance. But what if they have changed? What if the signs are small but real? Consistency, honesty, gentleness? Then you ask, can I let go of who they were and accept who they're becoming? Can I rebuild, not from nostalgia, but from new soil? Here's a truth few speak. Rebuilding does not mean returning to how things were. That place is gone. That version of the relationship burned in the fire. You don't go back. You build forward, stone by stone, moment by moment. It means creating something new with the same soul, but wiser hands. And yet, whether you choose to stay or walk away, one truth must hold. You must trust yourself first. Because without self-trust, every decision will tremble under self-doubt. You'll second-guess, self-blame, and seek external validation. But with self-trust, you anchor in your own discernment. You can say yes without losing yourself, or no without guilt. So how do we rebuild that self-trust? Start small. Stoicism doesn't ask for grand transformations overnight. It asks for daily integrity. Seneca said, "He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior." And conquering yourself begins with keeping promises to yourself, especially the quiet ones. Wake up each day and repeat simple affirmations. I choose peace over panic. I choose presence over assumption. I choose discipline over doubt. These aren't just words. They are recalibrations of your inner compass. And each time you listen to your intuition and follow through, you add a brick to your inner foundation. Each time you walk away from unnecessary conflict and choose silence with strength, you fortify your fortress. Self-trust grows not through perfection, but through consistency. And in time, that trust within becomes louder than the chaos outside. It allows you to say, I am not walking away because I'm weak. I'm walking away because I'm clear. Or, I am choosing to stay, not because I'm afraid to be alone, but because I believe this bond still holds truth. Either way, you stand rooted, unshaken, unapologetic. Now listen closely. There is no right answer for everyone. There is only alignment. Alignment with your principles, your peace, your path. The Stoics would not urge you to forgive blindly, nor to cut ties hastily. They would urge you to decide in accordance with nature, that is, with what supports your soul's clarity, not its confusion. They would ask, will this bond support your growth, your reason, your peace? If yes, rebuild, slowly, gently, deliberately. If no, release. Not with resentment, but with reverence for what it taught you. Because even the people who break our hearts shape us. And if you've walked through this pain with virtue, you've already won. Regardless of what they choose, you have become someone trustworthy again, to yourself. And that is the only trust you must never lose. So here, at this quiet fork in the road, don't rush. Breathe. Reflect on what you've endured, on how you've grown, on how many storms you've walked through, even when you couldn't see the shore. Now ask, what choice would honor the person I've become? Not the person I was when trust was broken, but the person I am now, standing in the fullness of that wound and the wisdom it gave me. That's your answer. And whether you rebuild or release, know this. You are not starting over. You are starting from strength. Rebuilding trust is not a single moment of forgiveness. It's not one powerful conversation or a grand emotional climax. It's a quiet commitment made day by day. Not always to the other person, but always to yourself. If you've come this far, you already know trust doesn't simply return. It is remade, and not in the fire of passion, but in the forge of discipline, virtue, and inner clarity. This journey we've taken together has not been about fixing anyone else. It's been about reclaiming the most sacred thing you own, your perception, your peace, your power. We began with radical honesty, a hard but necessary mirror. We asked not just what they did, but how we responded, how we interpreted, how we carried the wound. Because self-awareness is the first act of liberation, we moved into the quiet craft of virtue, choosing patience when reaction screamed, choosing consistency over dramatic emotion, choosing to live the values we wish others had shown us. Then came the most delicate step, speaking without demand, practicing logos, finding language not to control, but to connect, even if it meant ending the chapter. And finally, we stood at the crossroads, the final test, to rebuild or to release. And both paths required the same root: trust in yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That power is not in controlling outcomes. It's in choosing responses. It's in standing tall in the storm and knowing you didn't flinch. You didn't betray your own standard just to make someone stay. You didn't chase healing in someone else's hands. You came home to yourself. That is what Stoicism teaches, not emotional detachment, but emotional responsibility. The ability to feel fully without becoming owned by what you feel. So now, the practice begins. Each morning, wake up and speak to yourself as the guardian of your peace. Not with perfection, but with intention. Say, "I will not be defined by their betrayal. I will be defined by how I respond." Each night, reflect not on whether others met your needs, but on whether you honored your own virtue. And in the quiet moments, when the hurt resurfaces, when the memory knocks, remember, healing isn't linear. Trust isn't rebuilt in straight lines. But if you remain faithful to your inner discipline, your soul will grow roots deeper than the storm. If this message reached you today, I invite you, heart to heart, to share this video with someone you know is trying to rebuild, who needs to hear they are not alone. If you're walking this path right now, comment below, "I choose peace." Let us stand together, not in judgment, but in courage. Quiet courage. Subscribe to Stoic now if you want more than motivation, if you seek transformation. This is a place not just of answers, but of deeper questions. Remember, you are not rebuilding the past. You are shaping a future, rooted in wisdom, refined by fire, and aligned with your true nature. May the peace you rebuild be stronger than anything that was ever broken. And when in doubt, return to this one truth: you are not fragile. You are forged,